All right, let's talk about frames. So you read a lot out there. There's like 3-inch frames, there are like 5-inch, 5.5-inch frames, 6-inch or like super long range to 7-inch frames. But what is actually the characteristic? So you're going to have different shapes. You have like an X shape, completely symmetric. You're going to have wide X, or they call it also the H shape. So if you have them next to each other, you see what I'm talking about. One is like more wide and less long. And you can have like a dead cat shape. And you see that for like 7-inch, like long range quads. And the reason for that is because you don't want to see, like, because 7-inch drones, they have like long arms. And long arms mean also like you use bigger props. And you want to make sure that the props are not in the image, and that's why the dead cat has like, it looks the same on the front, but at the in the back it goes like it looks like this, like a V in the back, and that's for just like for the bigger props. And then the other basically shapes you have for cinewhoops, you can also have like different sizes, and here you also see like how the frame basically is different. Here, the biggest difference like to the frame is just that the ducts on this one are like TPU, and the ducts on this is like carbon fiber. It's open and has like some TPU bumpers there. Okay, so let's talk more about the individual frames. Personally, that's the X-Hover Blaster frame. Put it in the description. I love this frame. I really like X shapes because it's so nice to tune. It's completely symmetric, and also the way the frame itself is built, like the main part, it's really nice because you can literally mount your GoPro at 4 different places. So front, on the back, top, or like down. That's a really nice option. Also here for the motors, this part is a little bigger. If you crash something, it first hits the frame and not like damages the motor. This one is also very light, and it comes like with thin, with not like thick arms, but not wide, and that's important. If you imagine like the drone flies like this, and the arms are like too wide, then it's not really aerodynamic. But you want to have a thick arm because when you crash, it's much better if it's a little bit thicker there. This frame by FPVframes.ch, also put in the description. I love this frame because there's so much brain power inside. You can have a big conversation if you like more wide X or H shape than X shape. I personally like this more, but I mean, there are people, they swear on these kinds of shapes. And to be honest, my Super G, where I did a lot of like videos, also the one in Madeira, or most of the shots, I took it with a H wide X shape. Why this one is so powerful? First of all, if you look at when you crash like this. And if you look at this frame, the middle part has always the same thickness here. If you look at this frame, it's massive 6 millimeters front part, which is like really good when you crash it, and the back part is like super thin. So they really put it thicker where it supposed to be. Also, the arm are like really thin, but like not wide, but super thick. That's also really good when it comes to stability. And also the way the front part is built. So you have the entire front section CPU mounted. So it's like the CPU mount is like hanging in there. And the good thing is like it absorbs so much vibration, and it's still stiff. So when you bump, like the TPU mount is going to take some pressure away. But still, then, like the top mount, as explained before, you have like the screws, so you can literally like basically move that front part and still have it like super stiff. That's a really good thing. When we talk about cinewhoops, the basic frame is kind of like the same if you look from underneath. But personally, I prefer this one because it's still hard to hit an athlete. But on the other side, just the advantage of having like no ducts which close basically here and have like this huge surface where the wind can like bring the drone into some shaky movement. I really prefer that because it's light and it's more wind resistant because of its shape. I don't have like now a super long range quad here, but there it, I mean it looks similar to this setup. It will be also around, I would say 140 to 180 grams, somewhere there. The first frame I had was by Rotor Riot. It was a really good frame to start. For me, it was a little bit too heavy, but it's really good, especially if you're a beginner. It has like thick arms, really wide as well, and if also X-shape. And if you crash, I mean, I crashed this drone so many times on hard rocks, I couldn't like kill it. And also the way this feels, this one is really hard to kill as well. The X-Hover frame, I just like it because it's really built for cinematic, because you can mount the GoPro at so many different places. When it comes to CPU mount, you can have like different versions. So this one is like a universal mount, so you can literally mount every kind of like action cam on it. This can be an Osmo Action, this can be like a GoPro 9, a GoPro 8, because they have like, they match like this kind of universal mount, and you can also define the angle. This one is like, you need, for different GoPros, you need like different kind of TPU mounts. The good thing with this one is like you still, due to its shape, you can like basically move it around. That's the good thing. So you can like go from 10 degrees up to 45 degrees. So that's like a great option. But still, you kind of limit it because the TP mount matches only one camera type. Of course, it can be changed. The next thing is like, I will explain more in the camera section. But if you go with naked GoPro, that's a completely different thing. But it's also like something between like this and this mount. Personally, if you have to select, I would go with like this kind of universal mount, or with something where you can change the angle, because if you fly in the field, you need different degrees. If you want to chase a car, you have like 30 up to 40 degrees. If you want to dive down, you can have also like 30, 40 degrees, but maybe you want to chase a skater, which is really slow, and you want to make it like to 10 degrees. And with these two frames, this gives you the option. And maybe you don't have a Cinewhoop, or you don't have the money, or you haven't bought it yet. So you need also like having a less strong angle. Because if you look at Cinewhoop, the angle is mostly like 10 degrees, not much, because you don't want to fly crazy fast with these. Another thing, keep in mind when we're already talking about the angle, the GoPro angle and the angle of the camera for the goggles, they should have the same angle. Because if you have the one from the goggles, from the frame, like 40 degrees and the GoPro only 10, what you fly is not, it doesn't look like that then when you actually look at the footage. So make sure that you have the same angle. A good advantage also, when you start with a small angle. If you do 30 degrees, you look more into the sky, and the most difficult part, at least for me, was like to get used to the throttle and to land, because you don't see the ground. And the longer you fly, the more you start orientating at different obstacles. So if you have an angle like 10 degrees, you're going to see more the environment when you land, whereas for 30 degrees you look up in the sky and it's kind of like hard for you. Also, if you want to dive down, I'm going to explain more that in the flying in the field section, but if you fly like this, you're not going to dive straight down, because the props, when you arm the quad, when you put it on, they always speed. Even not crazy, they like speed. And when you fly like down like this, you're going to have like a force to this direction. So imagine you have like a cliff and you go down, it always pushes you this quad like away from the wall. So what you have, and also the GoPro angle, and maybe like explaining like this is much better, because if you go straight like down like this, the GoPro is not looking straight down. So what you have to do is you have to basically fly like this, because then the drone is less pushed in this axis. It's more pushed like also like towards down. Plus the GoPro also looks straight down. And that's why for like a good dive, you don't have to do 40 degrees, but I give you just like the extreme. If you have like this, the more you go with that, the more the force is going down and less in this axis. So I would try like to have it like tilt like this, and then the camera looks nice down as well. So this is like also when you fly into the wall, you can go straight down like this and then up. In case of like when you started with this angle, then like it pushes you there, and it's not as easy. Just to have that said about like the angle of the camera. And last but not least, when you buy a frame, I would strongly recommend to buy the TPU mounts who comes with the frames. You can download them from the internet. I'm happy to put the website where you have all the 3D print layouts ready. And then if you have a friend, you can ask him if he can print out for you. But I would try to buy as much TPU options which you have. For example, here you can have a TPU mount to hold the air unit. You have a TPU mount for the antenna. You can have TPU mount there. It's just like, it's nice because it makes you build clean, and because it absorbs vibration, but it's still like stiff. And when you hit something, it's also not too sensitive. And yeah, you can see here different frames. I tested also different frames. Personally, to have that said, X-Hover, really like their frames, and the other is like for FPV frames. And just when you look at, they put so much brain power into that, and it's just nice to see like that they really think about the details, having like the vibration issue, like the wind thing. It's just like nice to have like these kind of frames if you want to get the perfect flight performance.